What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? It is the Lakers post-game, Showtime Forum post-game report. And let me get my boy Chaz. I done muted my boy. Listen, we are here because it is a necessity that we be here. As Anakat Mohan has already said in YouTube, this is a therapy session. The Lakers went ahead and they dropped Game 3. They continue the tradition of the gentleman's sweep, apparently, losing 104 to 115 to the Miami Heat. It looked like coming out the gates they were not ready for this game. And it was very apparent by the end of the game. And in the words of Dave Chappelle's character Clayton Bigsby, if you got hate in your heart, tonight's the night to let it out. So listen, it's already been conversation on Twitter about Chaz being on tonight and that he is prepared to go nuclear. But I believe he's in a calmer state. But either way, if he decides to go off, I'm more than welcome to it because the Lakers deserve a verbal butt whooping today. So Chaz, what happened?
It was just an abomination tonight. Blame pie. Anthony Davis gets probably 25 to 40%. Anthony Davis is. And credit to Coach Spo. And Coach Spo, Eric Spoelstra of the Miami Heat, the head coach, obviously came out with some great adjustments from the last game. Anthony Davis was a monster in Game 2. And Eric Spoelstra made the adjustments, put an extra guy. Always watching AD clogging the paint, having an extra guy double, working on their backside rotations when AD has it, forcing him into one of his weaknesses, which is passing out of the double team, which clearly he isn't the greatest at all the time. So, he just kind of keyed in on that, and Anthony Davis wasn't able to get into a rhythm. And as a result, neither was anybody else. KCP had a terrible game. Danny Green was unplayable for much of the second half. I don't believe he even saw the court in the fourth quarter. Rondo was not our typical playoff Rondo tonight. And a bright spot off the bench was definitely Kyle Kuzma, and Caruso played some solid defense as well. Caruso and Kuzma were the bright spots, but
and
Markieff Morris, my fault. Those three guys showed up to play along with LeBron. But I will say I didn't like LeBron's body language throughout the game. I didn't like the guys pointing and looking at each other for blown misassignments. This is a national final stage. If you're going to communicate on the floor or during the timeout. Don't point and look at each other with your hands up. It just looks bad for the entire team. Esteban in our chat didn't like the fact that LeBron walked off of the court. I respectfully disagree. It was 0.7 left. He thought the game was over. Even so, Jared Dudley had to come in and finish the final 0.5 or 0.7 of the game. Wasn't a big deal. He called it classless. I disagree. But either way, we're all emotional tonight. And I just don't like the fact that we beat Miami Heat so bad in those first two games. Not only on the scoreboard, but mentally. We beat those guys down pretty mentally. And I knew that they would come out in a very strong way tonight because this is either going to make it a series or not. No one's ever come back down 3-0. So they had to have it tonight. And I said Jimmy Butler would need at least 40 points and maybe a triple-double to win, and that's exactly what he got tonight in order to secure a Miami Heat win. So I'm just frustrated overall with just the fact that Anthony Davis he wasn't ready. He just wasn't ready tonight, and that was the worst postseason game that he's played probably the worst game that he's played all year. He just wasn't engaged, and credit to Coach Spoelstra for that. I'll give credit where credit is due.
Listen, I take all your points. I agree with all of them. I will tell you, I I am actually way more okay with this game today. I'm way more okay with it. I think, as I was saying earlier, man, before we got on, my biggest issue was I know the Lakers respond to disrespect. It's the reason why we consistently won in 5 games is because there always was the one game where something would happen, either game 1 or game 3, where something would happen. The other team would do something that was disrespectful, and for whatever reason, this team responds to disrespect. Maybe it's because they're older and they just have different kind of pride. And the Miami Heat did exactly what they didn't learn the lesson. And from my understanding, and I missed this because I was telling Chaz I came up here and started getting ready. But from my understanding, this was probably more disrespectful than any other team we face in the playoffs. And to me, that's the kind of thing that if you let that sit for 48 hours, it's impossible to come out and play below your level like they did tonight. I also believe that part of it for Anthony Davis was he didn't understand that just because you beat a team twice, that you haven't won the series yet. And I think there was a little part of him who has not been here, who didn't understand the moment as much as LeBron understood the moment. LeBron understands what it's like to lose to an inferior team. He's already talked about losing to Dallas and what that was like. So he knows what it's like. And he knows how it starts with nights like tonight. And so I think this is going to be a coachable, teachable moment for AD. I think that with the emergence of Kuzma and Morris tonight, who shot really well from 3, Kuzma shot 4 of 8, 50%, and then Morris shot 5 of 11. And if you have that production, if you could just imagine that production with AD and LeBron actually playing at their normal level, neither one of them played at a great game tonight. Both of them accounting for 13 turnovers out of the 19 that we had. That's insane. That's insane that your two superstars have almost majority of the turnovers that you have in a game. And so if you take away those turnovers and just let LeBron and AD play at their normal level, seeing that production, no playoff Rondo, but just you're seeing it. The bench had so many points tonight that really this game could have been a blowout. And I think this is the moment that Anthony Davis is going to learn. You can't get this game back. The only thing you can do now is make adjustments and never disrespect that team with lackluster effort, especially the Miami Heat. And I think kind of going to what you're saying, you give them confidence and they come out. And so Jimmy Butler's talking, Tyler Hero smiling, all that stuff. And I think this is the moment that the Lakers need to respond and do what they know they need to do. And answer and take it out. So here's some.
I'm laughing because I just realized that this series is going to go exactly like the last series did. Same way like the first round went just like the second round. Lost game 1, swept the next 4. Lost game 1, swept the next 4 against Portland and Houston. Go up 2-0, lose game 3, win the next 2 against Denver. I just hate the fact that we're just going to have to hear for the next 48 hours that they're going to make it a series and we're in trouble and all this other stuff. So that's just why I started smiling and laughing. But go ahead. First comment. Who's up?
Well, Lakers were on one today. Sluggish, lazy, and no desperation. That's from Anakat Mohan. Kyle Davis, my boy, on Periscope. Too many mental errors. They were flat from the start. And so just kind of giving – and you have to fill in the gaps for me right here. I got onto the call late. I had a meeting right before it. And by the time I got on, in the middle of the first quarter, I think we had already had 9 turnovers. So walk me through what I missed.
Just forcing the ball. It was the complete opposite of them being lackadaisical. I don't think they were lackadaisical or careless. They were actually trying too hard and forcing things that weren't there and weren't adjusting to the fact that they weren't adjusting to Miami's adjustments from the last game. And that just set the tone for the rest of the game. AD was never – that's one thing about his game that will come with just maturity and experience, obviously, especially – in the postseason, let alone the finals, but how to be able to change the momentum during the game. Like for AD, if he needs a good start in order to have a good game. If he doesn't really if he has a bad first half, he's not really just going to come out in the second half and just torch you for an entire second half. It's not really his game. He's done it a few times. Don't get me wrong, but for the most part, it's based off of how the game flows early for him. And if he gets punched in the mouth early and he's not able to do what he normally can do, then he just doesn't make adjustments. But that's where coaching comes into play, and I got to put some of the blame on Vogel as well, because I don't feel like Vogel made the necessary in-game adjustments to be able to free up AD to get him certain looks. I saw nothing different being done, like just any other action, any kind of pick and roll, any kind of dump down screen, anything like that, just or pistol action like Jeff Van Gundy was talking about during the broadcast. I just saw nothing different than what our normal sets were, and you had to adjust to the adjustments that Spo did, and we failed to do so, and as a result, we lost the game.
We lost the game, and I know last game there was a lot of praise. I was actually surprised by this when we got done with post game last week. Of course, I went and started just watching what everybody else was saying, and there was so much praise last game about how the Lakers handled the 2-3 zone. I thought we handled it horribly last game, personally, and tonight was kind of more of the same. We shot over 40 3-pointers the last time, 47 3-pointers, made 16. Tonight we shot 42 and made 14. But the issue with that is that it only works in the 2-3 zone. Shooting threes only works when you have somebody to get the offensive rebound. And we have Anthony Davis off the floor. Anthony Davis played 33 minutes tonight, but majority of that time where the Heat were getting on runs, AD wasn't on the floor. So shooting threes doesn't make sense because you have no big in there. Dwight Howard only played 15 minutes. Markieff Morris shot 11 threes. So obviously he's the one shooting these threes. You have no big on the interior. And so when you're missing that many threes, it leads to transition points. And those transition points, honestly, to me, were the difference. And so I think the same thing as you. Vogel essentially got out coached tonight. And that's to be expected. He's never been to the stage. Spoelstra's been here plenty of times before. But he got out coached tonight because he could not adjust to that zone. He also couldn't adjust to the pixel action that they were doing. And so they need to look at that film, and he needs to come out and prove himself as a defensive coach in this next game. It's not even that we win the next game. We have to win by defense. If we don't win by defense in game 3, then I don't care if we go up 3-1. It's still a possibility we could lose game 5. So they need to set the tone early. James Michael said that loss can make or break a team, but glad we have that chemistry. We'll be fine. I love the positivity.
We'll be fine. This series is going to go exactly how the Denver Nuggets series went. We'll win this because we're going to get so. If I'm as fired up as I am, and all you guys are like you are, you guys saw LeBron coming off the court in that second half. How mad he was walking past AD. You saw him walking off the court early, taking off his armband. Ironically, Kuz was already in the locker room before LeBron even got there. So either way, that's neither here nor there. You could see if we feel the way we feel, imagine how that man feels being 2 wins away from his 4th NBA title, and his team just dropped the ball. He dropped the ball as well with 8 turnovers. He's not exempt from this either, but he at least came to play. There wasn't a single starter that was in a positive in the plus-minus department tonight. And when you only get 1-3 between KCP and Danny Green, they've been terrible these last 2 games. Just the fact that they made a couple more shots in the last game and LeBron and AD were so great kind of covered that up. But KCP and Danny Green have been god-awful these last 2 games, specifically Danny Green. KCP was even worse tonight. He was a -26 who tied AD for the worst in plus-minus, who was also a -26 as well. So when all 5 of your starters are in the minus, and 4 of the 5 guys that start the game aren't playing well, it's going to be very hard. I mean, we had a lot of bench points. We had 38, 42, 45. Yeah. I mean, we had 53 bench points, 53 of 104. Over half of our points came from the bench. If AD gives us 25, we win the game.
We straight.
So he knows that, and everybody else does, and it's just a matter of just hearing it for the next 48 hours and locking in and getting it done on Tuesday. And
absolutely.
Moving on.
And it's also to point out this as well. It's so funny, man, when we think about people like KCP and Green, one thing we have to consider is that the 2-3 zone has been played more by the Miami Heat than any other team in the NBA. In fact, the disparity is so crazy that 126 of their plays, from my understanding, it was 126, and I think that was going into the series, was played by zone by Miami Heat. The third best is the Lakers, third most, and we played like 30-something zone plays and so far. So you're seeing this huge disparity, and you can tell that it's throwing KCP and Danny Green off their rhythm. They just don't know how to shoot when they have people running them off the line the way they do. And so that whole thing is a rotation. It's not one-on-one. It's not Braun driving and kicking like the way it normally is. It's literally them trying to pass the ball, last 4 seconds trying to throw up a three. And it's showing. It's showing. The difference is that Markieff Morris and Kyle Kuzma are kind of negating that excuse by basically saying if they can make these threes, if Kuzma can go 4 of 8, if Keith can go 5 of 11, and they're off the bench, then why are you as a starter not able to hit shots? That doesn't make sense. And so it's kind of a weird spot for Vogel. I really don't know if he can substitute, you know what I mean, putting in a Markieff or even a Kuzma into the starting lineup because you kind of need that bench production.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say it's apparent now after 3 games with Bam out. Now, if Bam ends up playing in the next game, I want Goran and Bam to play. I want them to play so that way they have no excuse whatsoever. Let me just make that very, very clear. I hate injuries, especially in the finals. I want those guys to play because the Lakers were up 20 points before Goran went out and 30 points before Bam went out. So I don't want to hear any of that. I want those guys to play. But if Bam plays, then there's a more likelihood that Dwight's going to start still and still have an extra body to throw at Bam for another 6 fouls or be able to knock him off his rhythm, whatever the case may be. But if he's not playing and they're going small like Miami's going with Olynyk and Myers Leonard, you only saw him for a little bit. I'm okay with having Keith and Kuz out there a little bit more because they give you more offensive help.
Yep.
And can fill the lanes faster on the fast break and helps out with quicker passes to be able to beat the zone. So for those reasons, Vogel's going to have to make an adjustment. And I think that if he doesn't make that adjustment, it's going to have to be the offensive adjustment against Miami on the double team for AD and how they're clogging the paint. Got to have an adjustment there. Got to do something with the zone. But you got to get better passers out there and better shooters outside of Dwight because I don't think did Dwight see the second half? I think he did. He did
a little bit,
to start, but not very much after that.
Here's a weird stat. LeBron almost had a quadruple double, and we know where that fourth would have came from that. A lot of Danny Green hating here. Danny Green hip injury, and he's a liability at this point. Got to cut his minutes. Get Jimmy Butler off my team. He's been trash all season.
Danny Green only played 17 minutes, guys. He didn't even play 20 minutes.
I don't. I think everybody keeps pointing back to the fact that he's starting and that he gets paid so much, but really neither one of those are really the issue. The issue is that he just needs to play better. That's the bottom line. I don't care if he's getting paid $1 million. If you're on this team,
the JR minutes really confused me, especially with Kuz being. I mean, I understood why because Kuz did have some defensive lapses in the first half.
Yeah, and
he was better in the second half defensively, but offensively he was pretty much in a good rhythm from what I could see. And I didn't understand even though JR hit a nice, good three, I didn't really understand. JR only played 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes could have went to Kuz, who could have played still. If he would have got those extra 5 minutes, he would have still played less than 30 minutes.
Which is crazy. KCP had 29 minutes tonight.
That can't happen. When KCP is 1 for 5 from the field and missing free throws, you're useless. You're useless to us tonight, guys. Just because defensively, Jimmy Butler was pretty much taking KCP to the rack, and Jimmy Butler was hunting KCP just like LeBron was hunting Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson in the first 2 games.
Yep.
So you gotta make the adjustment, and you gotta have Kuz. I'd rather have Kuz on Jimmy Butler because he's just a bigger, longer body that can contest a little bit better. So if I have my pick at it, but props to Kuz, props to Markieff Morris, and props to Caruso for showing up off the bench tonight. Rondo was terrible. A lot of mistakes. Only 2 turnovers. I felt like he turned the ball over way more, but maybe it wasn't an actual turnover. It was just bad decision making that led to a bad shot. That might as well have just been a turnover. That is what I maybe felt like. But guys just have to play better. That's all. I mean, and Vogel has to make the adjustment.
And the game ball goes to Scott Foster. Scott Foster always does this. Look at his track record. All respect to Jimmy, though. A 40-point triple-double can't be shunned. And, yeah, I listen, I think Jimmy Butler going for 40 is one thing. I think Scott Foster is – I'm not going to put any of this on the refs. At one point, if you look at the issue that you're going to have with that argument is that the Heat only shot 23 free throws. We shot 29.
Right.
So I guess you really can't go with that argument. But what you can go with is the fact that Jimmy Butler went off. And the question is, can Jimmy keep putting up 40 points? And my answer to that is absolutely not.
We will key on him.
Yeah.
We will make Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson beat us. So be it. Like, Jimmy Butler is going to get absolutely clamped down next game. I promise you that.
Yeah.
He will not score 25 points the next game. I guarantee it. If you want to guarantee, you want Prophet Chaz early, Jimmy Butler won't score 25 points in the next game.
Trust the Prophet, everybody. Listen, I believe it. I completely believe it. It's going to be impossible, and we haven't really seen that where a player has gone off in the playoffs and we let them go off again. We haven't seen that happen. Once they make the adjustment, that's it.
Because Jimmy Butler was the engine to everything else that was going on around him. If you don't let Jimmy Butler get off and have how many assists did he? 13 assists.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler was creating for everybody and doing everything and setting everybody up. You shut Jimmy Butler down, right? And you mitigate some of those passes and some of those open looks that he was able to create for others. You bog down everything else, and obviously you'll play better defensively, get more looks and more second chance points. I don't think we had enough second chance points tonight. Even though we had 11 offensive rebounds, we didn't score enough on those offensive rebounds. So got to get better in that department as well, because we're usually relying, if it's not fast break points, it's second chance points. And if we have neither, it's not really a good sign. We usually lose those games.
And with a backcourt of basically having Rondo and Braun on your team, they had 2 more assists than we did the entire game. That can't. The Lakers, when the Lakers don't do their assist game, you can tell it's going to be downhill, essentially from there. Spo out-coaching Vogel this series. I disagree with this series.
Not the series.
Not the series. Tonight he got out-coached, but I don't agree with the series. And here it is. So now it's coming out. Didn't like the way they left the court at the end. Yeah. So
I mean, I'll be honest. What do I prefer? Yes, I prefer LeBron to stay on the court and not walk off. But
right.
But I'm not gonna harp on it. That's not something. I mean, I played the game. You know, anybody that's played the game knows what that feeling is like when you lose and you got somebody in your ear talking some trash to you, or you've been talking trash all game, because LeBron and Jimmy Butler were definitely getting into it at the end of the first quarter. You know, and somebody gets the best of you, and somebody kind of shows you up. You know, you don't want to stick around and slap hands or, you know, anything like that. So it is what it is. Everybody has their preference. My preference is that LeBron would have stayed on the floor, but that's not something I'm going to harp on or make a big deal about or anything like that. Yeah.
LeBron still defaults to those long 3-point attempts when he feels like it. Still a chance to get the game late in the fourth, but what's a sustained effort over Hail Marys. And I even tweeted about this. It's almost like you can calculate when it's getting ready to happen. If we're within 6 to 8 points and there's like 7-8 minutes left, you can guarantee that somewhere in there LeBron's going to jack up. Yeah, he's going to throw a 3 up. And I don't understand where that's coming from.
That's when he feels like his team isn't going to fight back. They didn't have his back tonight. You know, Markieff did, Kuz did, but KCP, Rondo, Danny Green, Anthony Davis, those guys, the starters and playoff Rondo, they didn't have his back tonight. So he pulled up because he knows the game, right? Like, we're going to lose. Either way, whether I take this shot or not, based on how the game and the flow is going, I can give the ball to AD. He's going to either get double teamed and pass it to somebody for a look that may or may not go in, or I could take this open look and I shoot 35% from here, so I'll take my chances. Like it's just it's just a matter of the flow of the game, and anybody that's played the game understands why he's done that. So doesn't make it right, but you can understand it and still not agree.
Yeah, yeah. Sean Merzinski says the thing is though, this is without Bam and Dragic. I said this in the last post game. I'm not sure if you heard it, Jess, but to be honest, this is a different offense when Bam and essentially and Goran are off the court. When they're not playing, yeah, they have to. They're generally a pick and roll offense, and that actually plays more into the Lakers' favor with their length than anything else. Part of the reason why that first game was so dominant when Bam was playing was because he just can't hold up to our size, and they're trying to get him going, and they're trying to get stuff to go through him. When he's not on the court, though, that's how you have Jimmy Butler with a triple-double with 40, 13, and 11, because he's able to get everything flowing through him, and that's where we struggle is with guards or forwards that play out in the perimeter, and they put us in that weird pistol. And so I don't put this on a, if Bam and Dragic would have been in there, it would have been way worse. I think we actually probably could have won that game, not because they're not great players, but because they just play a different offense that runs into our strengths. And especially with Kelly Olynyk being a stretch five, it just changes everything, right?
That takes Dwight out the game for me.
Completely. It kind of reminds you a little bit. Obviously, they had no stretch five per se with the Rockets, though. Part of the reason why you had the lineups that we had against the Rockets was because they were able to play small ball the entire time. And so don't be surprised if you see an adjustment to the lineup going into Game 3, depending on how they announce Bam or not. If Bam plays and Howard is in there, it's not going to be a good look for the Heat. I'll just tell you that right now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
How do we guard Butler? Too many easy switches today where Jimmy went 1-for-1 with KCP. So obviously KCP was the weak link in the defense. What is the adjustment that you make?
Kind of what the adjustment was that Duncan Robinson made due to Coach Spo. So you show harder on the screen and you hustle harder to get back. So what that means is when the screen comes, instead of just switching it and being, so easy with the switch and just willing to take the switch, you either fight over harder or you show earlier and hustle back harder to your man. There's going to be a time period where it may leave it open for an open shot, but I'll live with that from Jimmy Butler shooting from 28, 30 feet away as opposed to backing down KCP from 13 to 15 feet and hitting a much easier jumper. So that would be the adjustment that I would make, and showing harder, because even though it didn't work, it did work a little bit better. I mean, LeBron still got his 25, but LeBron was still able to get to the basket. So what they did was they showed Duncan Robinson would show harder, and Tyler Hero would as well, and they would hustle harder back, and then they would help and clog the paint a little bit more and allow KCP and Danny Green to get off shots. And lucky for them, we weren't hitting them. LeBron was able to pass it out and facilitate for guys, but guys just weren't able to make shots. That's what we have to do for them. And
there it is.
Jimmy Butler just can't just back us down and bully us he has no, his footwork isn't like AD's, like Kobe's, like Harden's. His footwork isn't like that. So he's going to power you to the basket more than, and all he has is one reverse pivot. He's going to power you to the basket, reverse pivot the opposite way, or pass it out. That's it. There's no shimmy shake. Else. There's no fake. There's nothing. So.
And mind you, he scored 40 points in 45 minutes. Let's also put that out there. He played 45 minutes tonight and shot 0 threes. So everything you just said, Chaz, completely confirms in the stats. Everything was inside. And here's the key. He had 14 free throw attempts tonight. This was very reminiscent of what would happen with AD. AD would draw a lot of fouls and be aggressive. And so tonight the Lakers were not as aggressive as they needed to be.
How many free throws AD shoot tonight?
AD shot 2 free throws tonight.
2 free throws.
Yeah.
You got to the line one time for one pair of free throws. It's not going to cut it.
Caruso shot more free throws than AD.
Can't happen. Cannot win with it.
Caruso went 5 of 6. Caruso went 5 of 6. That's insane. And once again, this is why for me, I would be a little bit more nervous if this was the norm for the Lakers. This is not the norm. I said this before. We normally go between a 4 and a 6 game win streak, and then we have a game like this, and then they come back and they do another 2 or 4 or 6 game win streak. Then they lose one. So
last loss was 4 games ago.
4 games ago. And so they make the adjustment, and then the next 2 games they'll probably just close out. In fact, Shad Taylor on Periscope says Lakers sweep it out. So let's just go ahead and throw this in here now. I want to know your prediction because so far I want to just remind the people. Last session, you said if the Lakers don't shoot 35%, if they shoot 35% from 3, they're going to sweep the series. Which
what do we shoot?
If they don't, they shot 33%, actually less than what they did last game. Last game they shot 34%.
I told you.
And there it is. So he's spot on. You also called Jimmy Butler's triple-double 40-point triple-double in order for them to win, which is what happened tonight. So now it is time again for our Trust the Prophet segment. So you have to tell us what is it that we need to look forward to. I know this is not the end, but I want to just throw this in here now so that we can kind of settle our minds.
Look for double-digit points from AD in the first quarter next game. Remember how he responded to that game 1. Remind me what it was. That game 1 loss against Houston. When he didn't do anything. Like, he had 28 points, and we all still, like, they're just empty calories, like we call them. Like, it just didn't do any. Look for AD to have double-digit points and look very aggressive in the first quarter, and LeBron to come out on a mission and the team to play with an absolute edge. We don't lose 2 in a row very often, especially, and we haven't in the postseason as well. We've avenged every single loss that we've had in the postseason. Lakers sweep the series. The coronation is scheduled for Friday evening, so that way we can celebrate all weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I'm perfectly okay with us being mad and fired up. I'm pissed. I'm mad, guys. I'm trying not to show it because I'm trying to keep the airwaves nice and clean and filtered. But get me in a group chat, get me in a text, and you'll really know how I'm feeling. I'm very, very mad. So if I'm this mad, LeBron's that mad, AD's that mad, the coaching staff is mad. I could tell Kuz had an edge to him. He was pissed many times throughout the game from what I saw. And not like at anybody specifically, but just overall, just his demeanor. I could tell he was really into the game. He was trying hard, and he was very upset as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing how guys come out on Tuesday. But specifically, look for AD to have double-digit points in the first quarter of the next game.
There it is. D Million says Jimmy Butler talking smack. Add him to the list. You better believe. We already have Al Sanchez said hero snarling at the end. Add that to the list. I love it. I love how we already know how to add people to the list because we know what's getting ready to happen. We know what's getting ready to happen, man.
David. If you were watching this, please, I hit you up in the chat. Cue up the video. If you guys haven't seen the great video, what is it, with Thanos?
Yep.
In the video with Damian Lillard dancing and Russell Westbrook cussing out the family section after that game 1 win. Jamal Murray dancing at the end of game 3 when he hit that long 3 over AD. Let's go ahead and add Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero to that video, to the list of guys trying to show us up in the playoffs and what we do to them. We've handled everybody in 5 games. They got this one. Let's go ahead and handle business these next 2.
Yep. D Million says, bro, don't even mention AD in the same breath with Bron. Bron coming out blazing game 4. Now, let me just put a timeout now so that we don't get too far into our feelings and start talking crazy. AD is still the most dominant big in the playoffs, let alone the league. Still the most dominant. He's still learning how to win the right way. But don't ever think that this man ain't a walking 35, 40-point player. When he plays aggressive, there is nobody, not Jokic, there's nobody, not Giannis, who can do what AD does. The man is insane, which is why we're pissed tonight, because he wasn't the insane AD that is necessary to close out the last 2 wins that you need for the NBA title. So we know what he is. To say that he's not in the same breath as Bron, they're 2 different players, but you better believe they're both dominant, and you were not in the finals without either Bron or AD.
Absolutely.
You can take
Absolutely.
anybody else off the team, and you could still maybe make it. You take those two, either one of those, you're out.
And this means nothing to me personally. This is just to address some of maybe the comments, and some of the stuff that we've been seeing. There was a lot of Kobe and Shaq talk after the last game. There was a lot of Finals MVP talk and this and that. Guys getting ahead of themselves. This loss is good. I don't want to hear any more Kobe and Shaq talk until we actually win the title. I don't want to hear any Finals MVP talk until we actually win the title. This is good because it actually put a whole dent into AD's Finals MVP campaign.
Yep.
And it isn't a campaign. That's not something he's trying to do. He's trying to win the championship. And if he just so happens to be Finals MVP, then he gets it. Same thing with LeBron. Obviously, LeBron wants it for legacy purposes, but that ring is what he wants. And if Finals MVP happens to come from him or AD, it is what it is. But I'm glad guys got punched in the mouth because all that Kobe and Shaq and Finals MVP talk, we can go ahead and put that to the wayside for now, and we don't have to resurrect that until we actually got that jewelry. Let's get the jewelry first and then worry about comparing the guys that three-peated and swept the finals in 2002 themselves. So
yeah.
Let's hold on.
And just as something completely off subject, but it has to do with the Jimmy Butler comment. Per Vincent Goodwill, who's actually in the bubble, one of the reporters, he said, LeBron told Jimmy that the Heat were in trouble at the end of the first. Jimmy said it in a reply late in the fourth for context. So which is fine.
They were in trouble.
Yeah.
And AD just didn't show up. Damn it.
which is
was AD to just show up,
and that's it.
Just give us
I'm gonna
10 more points, and we would have been fine, man.
I'm gonna tell you where the cherry on the top is. I'm fine with Jimmy Butler and LeBron going back and forth. Jimmy Butler has willed that team to this position, right? That part doesn't feel as disrespectful.
You going with Hero?
There it is, young man.
Hero scenario?
Young man.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I don't know what's going to happen to him. I don't know if they're going to get him to foul out. I don't know what's going to happen. But when I tell you they're going to make it, if nobody else but Rondo, somebody going to get in that young man's head. And I know there's been a lot of talk about his mental, his mental prowess, and he's built for these moments. He gonna learn. He gonna grow up on these next two.
He gonna learn today.
He gonna learn today. Jimmy earned the right to talk to Braun like that. They homies.
He did.
Hero, you ain't been here long enough. And somebody should have pulled him to the side and said, "Young man, don't poke that bear."
UD, get your boy.
Yeah. Handsome, get your boy. Turnovers and not rebounding killed us. And I think the rebounds, while we did have more rebounds than them, there were some crucial rebounds that we did miss. You brought that up. We had 11 offensive rebounds versus their 3.
We didn't capitalize on the offensive rebounds. Like Rondo would get a steal. I remember we did get an offensive rebound, and then Rondo dribbled it to the corner and then got the ball tipped out by Duncan Robinson and turned into a turnover. Other times we just didn't. We lost a lot of 50-50 balls as well. And something that you'll just see, which showed that we were just completely out of sync. Kelly Olynyk got behind LeBron James in a fast break and back tipped a LeBron break. Kelly Olynyk, not a guard. And for nobody to say where LeBron, shout out to him, or for LeBron not to switch hands, or, for anybody to give him a heads up, just lets you know that we weren't locked into the level that we needed to be in order to win the game or overcome Miami playing damn near perfect.
And just to kind of give you an update, David has already updated the video and it's already posted. So just so you know, the video is already posted. And I'm watching it right now. This makes me so excited for Game 4, man. I don't know what's getting ready to happen, but he didn't. Yeah, okay. He put Hero. No, he put it on his own. He put Hero and he put. There it is. That's it. That's a wrap. That's all we needed.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about Kuz starting or THT getting more playing time? THT will not see the floor in the finals.
He will not see the light of day.
Never. It's not going to happen. Not this post. If you see him in, that means that the championship is secured.
Yeah, absolutely. But he won't get in. You got to he'll play McGee and Dudley before he'll play THT. Those guys are veterans that have earned the right to get to the final. I think this is Dudley's first finals, right? So Dudley, you want to get Dudley in the game if you can.
Oof.
Yeah,
Y'all are
man.
eating Danny Green alive. Danny
Yeah, he
Green was.
deserves it.
Yep.
It's not even the stats. Throw the stats away. He just looks bad out there.
Yeah.
Like he's like when they run him off the line, these floaters, the passes that he has. Oh yeah.
It says, Shot Taylor says Danny Green was pure garbage. Danny Green didn't show up for anything. Danny Green is trash emoji. KCP hitting the backboard again, and DG is 0 for 5. Start other players, and Devontae Roberts puts it, he really does kind of just accentuate what you just said. I understand Danny Green has the championship experience, but if you're trash, then you're trash.
And defensively as well. Like usually what holds up Danny Green's plus minus and just the eye test is his defensive prowess, and that's gone as well these last 2 games. So when he's not shooting the ball well and he's not able to, play good defensively or make any kind of solid defensive play or rotation, he's completely unplayable and he's useless.
This is a really weird. This is why I love Lakers Twitter and I hate us at the same time. Let me just throw this out here.
We keep it real, man. We
do, but sometimes we go to extremes. So there was a petition started.
We do
for Kuz.
I don't believe it was by Laker fans.
No,
I don't believe it was by Laker fans. I refuse to believe it was by Laker fans.
There's been a lot of talk about Kuz has not been producing. Kuz, even the last post game, there were people trying to jump on Kuz. And so now I'm seeing comments of we should sub DG for Kuz. And I just want to just point out to people, like, I understand that we don't have the most consistent starters or bench. I'll get that. I will concede that. And to be honest, Danny Green has shown long enough that we probably need to sub him out for the next game and just try it and see what Kuz does and have DG come off the bench. But let's just be clear, man. Like, we ain't throwing players away. I even saw somebody tweet, and this was a Laker account that tweeted that Kuz shouldn't get a ring, and I'm like, what are we saying? What is it? Like, championship teams lose games. Nobody has swept through the playoffs. Nobody has swept through the playoffs. Every great team has lost games, and we've only lost 3 so far. This being the 4th. I think we're more upset because of the way we lost, and I think that's probably the more important thing, which is valid anger. But when you're valid angry, this is like you get the first fight with your wife and you want to divorce her. This is not how we operate. Okay?
Right. There we go. I like that analogy.
Go to
fight with the wife and you want to divorce her. No, marriage is hard. NBA Finals is hard.
Preach, Chaz. Preach, brother.
It ain't supposed to be easy. This is why it's the last series. So you're going to get their best. And Jimmy Butler, Pat Riley was going to put a foot in the you-know-what in all these guys, especially after game 2.
Absolutely.
You got Spo cussing in the post game, Pat Riley, Mickey Harrison probably called in on a conference call and gotten that, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Dwayne Wade called a few of those guys and let them know, hey, man, I may be rooting for Bron, but y'all ain't going to, get swept. Y'all better come out to play, like he tweeted on Friday or on Friday night. Yeah. He said it's okay to lose, but you can't just go out. You got to fight. And that's what they did tonight. Not only did they fight, they won the game. So props to those guys. Now it's up to us to respond and make the adjustments. And there's been nothing that shows me that we won't do otherwise. So I have all the confidence in the world.
There it is. Now, there was a lot of conversation in the comments about 80's early foul trouble, and there was obviously that one foul that he got called for the offensive foul. I think that was his 3rd. And the question was, should Vogel have challenged that? Should that have been a challenge?
He didn't challenge anything. He didn't challenge anything. So, as the old saying goes, if you don't use it, you lose it. And he lost it. He didn't use it. And there was no other, there are certain moments in the game, and he's not opposed to using a first half challenge. He's done it before.
Yeah.
And that was one where it was pretty blatant that Olynyk was moving. He was out of position.
Yeah.
And it was a bang play, but Olynyk was out of position. And even if the challenge was successful, we wouldn't have gotten the ball. It would have just been a jump ball, right? But That's something that you have to at least take and roll the dice on because
Yeah.
I know that I know the thinking. The thinking is, hey, this looks like it may be a close game. I may need it in my back pocket going down the stretch, and unfortunately, you didn't. And now your hindsight is always 2020. He didn't have to use it. Now we're looking back saying he should have used it. So I'm not going to fault him too much for it, but
Yeah.
I would have liked to see that challenge because that was a terrible call.
Yeah.
Calling a charge on AD, especially
That
for that being, I believe, his third foul.
that was his third. And what I did like that Vogel did coming out of the half, AD picks up a fourth foul early.
Left him in.
Left him in, and he went the rest of the quarter without fouling. I liked that. I liked that trust. But to be honest, man, we shouldn't even be in that position in the first place, especially because that fourth foul was so ticky-tack, going around the pick and then trying to swat at the ball on your way out. That it didn't really make sense, man. But it's good to see this team have this moment. I hate that it had to happen, but I'm glad that it is for two different reasons. One, the narrative of this is going to be a cakewalk. We can throw that out the door. So that's out the way, and saying that the Miami Heat aren't valuable, because now you're going to see the narrative shift again. The narrative is going to shift to the Miami Heat are tough and they're gritty, and the Lakers, they're Hollywood, and yada yada. And if you look on Twitter right now, you're already starting to see comments like that. That's good, because then when we win the championship, they can't backtrack and say, "Oh, well, the Heat were overmatched."
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have anybody.
Yeah,
No. Let's keep that same energy. We in trouble. Let's stay in trouble. Right? We in trouble. So, cool. Keep that same energy, and we're going to get ourselves out of trouble. We're going to get out of timeout. Just watch.
Yeah, man. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. All of the talk on Twitter right now seems to be around the commentary about you're in trouble, which I like. I like that. I like the way that's going right now. The question is...
Westbrook is trending with Dame Lillard for the
what that means?
Same reason, right?
Can we just settle it?
It's the same thing.
Can we just settle it? That started with Showtime. I don't know where that... I just want to say, we were the first ones talking that narrative.
We were.
We pointed that out. We pointed it out before. When Jamal did it, we said, there it is. That's where the video came from.
When
Dame
Jamal did it, the video wasn't made until Jamal did it, and we put it all, and David, representative of Showtime Forum, put it all together, but we were already referencing it through our page as well as our chat. When Dame, did his boogie, and then obviously Russ was shouting expletives at the family section. So
yeah,
Yo,
they are crazy. Trade Green as soon as the season is done. Green can barely run. Looks like ice skating with concrete skates. Yeah, man, he is getting cooked. He is. I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm not gonna lie, he is getting cooked. DG couldn't hit anything.
Vogel's getting cooked tonight too. Vogel was getting absolutely cooked right now.
Yeah,
getting out coached.
Yeah, man. Blake St. Clair says not challenging that foul not only cost the possession, but it kept AD out when he should have been on the floor, and that is a valuable comment. I mean, if he only has 2 fouls going into the half, that actually makes a difference.
And I believe they scored on that possession after that as well, which extended the lead.
Yep,
if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a big swing. So
yeah,
that's something that I probably would have done. But
yeah, man,
it's all right.
Yeah,
one game.
Is Waiters not 100%? I'd say sub in Waiters, him as the ball handler in the pick and roll.
He's in no rhythm. This
is probably the worst.
You're 2 wins away. He has no rhythm, which is the exact reason why I question the JR 5 minutes. Like Kuz was at least in a defensive or not a defensive in the first half, but at least in an offensive rhythm. It finished with 19 points, same thing, same amount as Markieff Morris. Yeah. Those 5 minutes should have either gone all to Kuz or even been split up between Keith and
Caruso,
Kuz,
somebody.
Because they all played less than 30 minutes, and those guys came to play tonight. So
yeah, man, and and I think the biggest thing that we just got to remind ourselves is that the pick and roll is not working for us right now because they're playing 2-3 zone. So once again, they're packing the paint. So pick and roll works when you have man-on-man defense because you're picking a person. But the pick doesn't really work in 2-3 defense as well. It almost makes you wonder if the Lakers should do 2-3 zone a little bit more. But even that, the Heat aren't really doing pick and roll stuff. There's a couple ways that
Here's what I didn't see. I didn't see LeBron or AD as that middleman coming to flash at the high post to be able to create the quick passes around the perimeter like we saw in the first two games. I didn't see that. I don't know why. So we got to get back to that because that's, what created the open looks like Laker Film Room Pete. He had put together, and shout out my boy as well. Go check out some of his videos. He has some fire content. We support everybody in Laker Nation on this platform. So check out. He actually had a last post, I believe, that after the last game that showed the great ball movement that we had that came from the left wing to the top to the high post, back out to the top, swung over to the left wing, which created an open shot for Caruso. So, that's what I didn't see, and we got to get back to that to be able to create quicker passes and better rotation on the perimeter to create open shots. So that's something, another thing that we can get back to.
There it is. I'll say this, man. Looking at tonight, it was horrible to watch. We're so close, which makes our anxiety go to an all new level. You feel everything that much more. If this was a regular season game, we'd be mad, but we'd move on to the next. But for us, we know that there's a very limited next amount of games, and we want it to be as limited as possible. We want the next two games to be the last two games of this season, and we want the Lakers to be able to come out on top winning 4-1. And as they've shown the last three series, they've had these gaps, they've had these slip-ups, and they come back and they respond. I believe this is going to be no different this time. Whether Goran plays, whether Bam plays, does not matter. I believe that this team is still...
Bring D-Wade out of retirement, play UD.
Don't
we
matter.
Don't win it.
Matter.
It don't matter. And one thing I thought about today, I was like, man, it just hit me. Like, man, this season is about to be over. We don't know when the next time, how long it's going to be until we get next season, So I'm like, man, I'm enjoying my time with you guys on Showtime and just covering podcasts, post game, watching games, live tweeting as I'll be doing Tuesday night, and we get an extra night of it. So it ain't all bad.
It ain't all bad, man. It ain't all bad. There was a question: what if we lose Game 4? Is it time to panic? No, I don't think it's time to panic. I don't think it's time to panic.
Even if we go down 3-2, down 10 in Game 6, I'm not panicking.
Yeah.
And I said it.
I'm not.
I just said it. Down 3-2, down 10 points in Game 6, 10 minutes away from being eliminated. I'm not panicking.
No.
I'm not. No. I refuse to panic because we've seen it going all the way back to that Warriors preseason game last September a year ago.
Yeah.
We know what time it is. We're going to get that trophy.
We lost by 11 points. And if I'm saying that right? We lost by 11 points. Yeah, we lost by 11 points tonight.
Yeah, 9 points. Or was it? No, yeah, 11 points. Sorry.
We lost by 11 points. We had an excruciating amount of turnovers in the first part. AD played like dirt. LeBron didn't play well. And we only lost by 11. Any other team that's in this position probably would have lost by 20, 25. Right. This is not to say glass half full. This is none of that. This is just the pure facts. The truth of the matter is that based upon the way we played, this should have been a blowout. Okay, which means that minor adjustments need to be made. I shouldn't say minor, but just simple adjustments need to be made. Tuning it up, and it makes all the difference in Game 4.
AD played lower than his standards. LeBron, even though he had a decent game by everybody else's standards, by his standards, personally, he'll tell you he had a bad game. The 8 turnovers can't happen. Rondo didn't have a good game. Danny Green didn't have a good game. Dwight Howard didn't have a good game. KCP didn't have a good game. When 6 of your 8 or 9 rotation guys, main guys, don't have good games, you're probably not going to win. So hang your hat on that. Live to fight another day, and we'll get them. That's all I'm preaching. I'm not going to give you any super analysis. I'm not going to go back. And go over different adjustments. We've already talked about the adjustments that they can make. It's about just going out and executing at this point, and just keeping the faith and having the confidence. And that's all I can say. It has nothing to do with X's and O's at this point. It starts and ends with effort and playing well, and then making adjustments based off of that moving forward. So
So I want to read you a few of these things from Mike Trudell. Of course, he gives us as much inside information from post game as possible. So I also want to read a few of these things. Lakers had one game against Portland, Houston, and Denver where they simply didn't play well throughout. Now, I just want to point that out. It wasn't that we got outplayed as much as that we didn't play to our standard. They won 4 straight after game 1 losses to Portland and Houston, and games 4 and 5 after a game 3 loss to Denver. We'll see how they respond to Miami on Tuesday. Here's what I love. This is great. First, LeBron, they asked him about Jimmy Butler. He says, I thought Jimmy was phenomenal. We will watch film and see how we can be better on him in game 4. And then says this. For AD, I think the foul slowed him down a lot tonight. And then they asked him, are you concerned? And this was his response. I don't feel like we're concerned. We're not concerned. We know we can play a lot better. We have another opportunity to take a commanding lead on Tuesday.
That's
That's
same
my
thing I
captain.
just said. That's the mindset. And Anthony Davis just summarized. He said, "Trust me, we'll be fine." Just silly turnovers. He had 4 in the first quarter. Offensive fouls, miscommunication on passes. Rondo just threw the ball out of bounds when he thought,
Like, wait, what?
In the first half. We just have to be better overall. Missing shots. We didn't defend at all tonight. And he said at last, "Trust me, we'll be fine." I'm going to put my trust in AD.
There it is.
He said trust. He said trust him. We always say trust the prophet. Let's trust AD. Let's trust Bron. Let's trust Vogel. Let's trust the squad, and we'll get this done.
This is why I love what LeBron said when he said, I thought Jimmy was phenomenal tonight. Not minimizing like PG, oh, it's a lucky shot. And this is not just saying to PG, it's just a difference in mindset. It's recognizing I got outplayed tonight, and I'm going to go back and make sure that it doesn't happen again in the next game.
Right.
That's what you want to hear. Yeah.
40-point triple-double in the finals. Even if and when the Heat lose this series in 5 games, we're going to remember Jimmy Butler showing up.
Yeah.
We're going to be like, man, hey, we already know Jimmy Butler a dog, but even more so now. For him to do what he did with being shorthanded and taking it to us like he did, props to that guy.
Listen,
props to him.
This is a crazy stat. This is the first time in LeBron's history of playing in the finals where he's been outscored, out-rebounded, and out-assisted by another player, either on his team or on the opposing team. It has never happened in his life. Yeah. So what you saw tonight, and I won't even call it an anomaly. I'll just call it hard-fought stats. I mean, Jimmy Butler carried that team to an 11-point win tonight, and you have to tip your hat to that man. That dude is insane, and there's a reason why the Lakers wanted him. Let's not forget. We were hunting that dude. Please come over here. And he chose the Heat, and I'm glad he did, man. He's making his own legacy, and this is going to stand out in that legacy the night that Jimmy Butler fought tooth and nail. And he's still not 100%. You see what I'm saying?
No, he's not. Outscored, out-assisted, and out-rebounded LeBron James in the finals.
Yep. And I'll leave it with this. Blake Sinclair says, shift in the mindset back to how it's been the entire playoffs. I think the Lakers saw the prize early and had a mental lapse. And I agree with that.
I'll take it. Too much. I was okay with the Kobe and Shaq talk, but I thought it was a game too premature.
It is.
Like, I would have been okay with it after going up 3-0 when it's like inevitable, or even if you lose the next game, like you still know you're going to win one of the next 3.
Yeah.
To do it after 2-0, I didn't like too much. I know it was great for ratings and great for ESPN and, putting those highlights together, and Dave McMenamin putting a new essay together and putting it, I know it's great for all that, but I just thought it was just a game too premature. But now the pressure's ramped up. There's more pressure. The pressure's on us.
There it is. Yeah, it's not on the Heat. The Heat are playing with house money.
Pressure's on us. Let's respond.
There it is. All right, so there it is. And you guys already know Chaz is going to be live tweeting on Tuesday. And then we're going to hop on here, of course, for the post game. Now, I did have this question for you, Chaz, and I talked about it a little bit, and I alluded to it. So we're going to have just a group polling right now. Okay.
All right.
I said in the last game, if we go up 3-1 in game 4, in game 5, should we just go live for the entire and just with everybody? We're watching game 5 together as the elimination game, or do you think that would be too premature?
Together?
Yeah.
Like the whole game?
The whole game. We sitting and we chopping it up. You can come in and out as necessary, but we just watching the game together.
I don't know.
We'll
Here's
pin
my
that
thing.
up.
Let's pin that. Let's pin that for after the next post game. Because here, man, like my vibe is so during the game. Like, look, man,
I
my
want to see
girl,
it raw.
she's telling me I'm growling, I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm snarling, I'm cussing. Like me during this game, especially this next one that we have to have, or game 5 even. You know, that's my only concern. Like I want to keep it PG for, you know, like we had talked about.
Okay.
That's my only concern. But it's a good idea. Let's just pin let's pin
Let's
that.
pin it. Let's pin it.
Let's pin it
Let's
for
pin it.
Tuesday.
Excellent. Okay. And I have something special planned. Chaz, I'm going to talk to you about it afterwards. I have something special planned for some of you guys. We're going to bring some of you guys on once the season is over. I believe we're going to be holding up the championship, but we're going to do a special live where we bring you guys on and we're going to have face-to-face conversation with you guys and be able to talk through some of the things. Yeah, that's going to be great. So even if we don't do live on the last game, whatever the case, we're going to bring some of you guys on as promised, man. It's going to be fun. Unfiltered emotions is what they want to see from you. That's the commentary in the chat. Chaz's unfiltered emotions. I don't think y'all know what you're asking for. I don't think you know what you're asking for.
Man.
All I know is I saw his Instagram story when the Clippers lost, and it was the most hilarious thing. I think I watched that thing 14 times, man. He called them frauds and everything. It was fantastic. But it is not PG, baby. It is not PG-13.
It is not. It's not. It's JB, and JB is a real one.
There it
He's
is.
a dog for real, for real. Not like them fake puppies over there on the Clippers.
Any case, man, listen, we're going to sleep tonight. We're going to wake up tomorrow. It's going to be full of news clippings and all that stuff. But understand, your stars have already said it. We're not concerned. We'll be fine. Don't worry. And, of course, you already heard Prophet Chaz. You already know how it's going to go. Expect for AD to come out and hit those double digits early. And it's going to be a wrap from that point on. Make sure you guys tweet out David's video, man. Make sure we let everybody know that we saw the disrespect and we ready for it. We fine with it, and we're gonna add them to the list. That's gonna be the new hashtag. Add that to the list, and we're gonna be fine.
Add it to the list.
Keep the receipts because everybody gonna be talking now. Keep the receipts, and it's fantastic. It's fine. We've already lost 3 times before. This is not unusual to us. But until then, until Tuesday, we're looking for a win. I hope all of Laker Nation is safe. You guys be good, and I hope everybody has a wonderful night. Chaz, anything you want to tell the people?
2 more. Tap in with me on Tuesday night when I'll be live tweeting. And I said what I had to say. I'm hyped, man. I gotta get to bed, man. I gotta get some rest because this next week it's gonna be a lot of energy on Tuesday and Friday.
Yeah.
And
really
quick, LeBron frustration for the reason why he walked off the court 0.5 seconds.
That's what he said. I'm fine with it. And that's fine. I ain't got no problem with it. So, all right, for sure. We'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all have a wonderful night.